Good morning, everyone. Welcome to JDB's Morning Cap. Today is Monday, April 27th, 2026. As we're approaching the month of May, so we're down just 4 days remaining until May 1st. So I know how much I'm looking forward to that. This is a good moment here. We had a wild weekend in sports last week. We just been talking about all this and all that kind of stuff. So, which one I want to talk about first? What we're getting to? You want to talk about NFL draft recap? Want to talk about baseball news? Or want to talk NBA recap and previewing today's games? So I'll recap from the previous games in each of the last 2 days. So let's start with I'm gonna recap what went. I'm gonna recap what happened. Let's start. Let me recap. I'm gonna recap it from yesterday's game. How's that? Those who played yesterday in Game 4. So let's start. Let's get this thing started. All right. So in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference first round, the Raptors battled the Cavaliers in Toronto. After the Raptors come off an explosion victory in Game 3, but it was a defensive slugfest yesterday afternoon, and it was. However, both offenses woke up in the fourth quarter. They combined 64 fourth quarter points, but the 33 of the 64 points belonged to the Raptors. 33-31 is your fourth quarter score in favor of the Raptors, but the final score, the Raptors beat the Cavaliers 93-89. Oh, by the way, the Cavaliers were up by 5. Cavaliers were up 84-76 with 4:55 to go in the fourth quarter. Since then, the Raptors, in a final 4:55 left to play, the Raptors closed out on a 17-5 run. Raptors finished a 17-5 run in the final 4:55 remaining in the game to even up this series at 2 apiece. So, for the Raptors, should the Raptors feel pretty good after they were down 2-0 and won the last 2? Or should the Cavs be concerned? Be concerned after they dropped their last 2 after being up 2-0. Well, to me, I should be confident about the Raptors. What happened yesterday? They shot 32% from the field. That will be the lowest field goal percentage by a winning team in NBA playoff history. Raptors shot 4% worse. I mean, they shot over 4.5% worse than the Cavs. They shot about almost 5% worse. The Raptors shot almost 5% worse than the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers shot 37% from the field. The Raptors shot 32%. So the Cavaliers they went 32 for 87 from the field. They shot, which is 37%, 36.8, rounding up to 37%. The Raptors shot 31 for 97, which is 32%. And for 3 ball, They shot 13%. Raptors shot 13% from long range, 4 for 30. Cavaliers 10 for 40, which is 25%. They shot a quarter. They made a quarter of threes in that game. Free throws, little slight edge better for the Raptors, 27 for 36, 75%. Struggled most of the game. But the Cavaliers, it's their 15 for 23 for the Cavaliers, which is 65% for Cleveland. Turnovers, 11 for Toronto. They took a little better care of basketball. 17 for Cleveland. So Raptors actually took better care of basketball in the second half. Despite the poor shooting. But who led the way for the Raptors to the Game 4 victory? Both Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram have combined 20 they combined 46 points, 23 each. Brandon Ingram struggled from the field goal, 6 for 23, but he made some big shots down the stretch. Scotty Barnes, he didn't shoot the ball great, just 6 for 15. He made some big shots down the stretch and big free throws down the stretch. I'm impressed with the Raptors. It's been a straight. Brandon Ingram is having a really rough series, and yet the series is tied. So it's got to feel good for Toronto. They could have been swept if it wasn't for Ingram's struggles. If Ingram kept struggling, then the series would have put them to bed from Cleveland. Cleveland would have swept the Cavaliers if it wasn't for that fourth quarter explosion. Cavs would have gone up either 3-1 or they could have swept. Instead, the Raptors took 2 games at home in this series. And now we're going to have a best of 3. Game 5 will be head back to Cleveland on Wednesday night with a potential best of 3 matchup. The winner 2 of the 3 will advance of the second round of this NBA playoffs. As for the Cleveland Cavaliers, this should be disappointing. They should be disappointing. This is a lackluster offense for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell led the way with 20 points, but 6 for 24 for the field. James Harden and Donovan Mitchell have combined 13 turnovers, 7 for Harden, 4 for Mitchell. Jarrett Allen missed 3 free throws, 1 for 4 from the line. Jalen Tyson missed 3 free throws out of 6. He went 3 for 6 at the line. By the way, Cavaliers have missed 8 free throws, including, I think they went 2 for 8 at one point in the first parts of the game. And then let's go back to that play in the fourth quarter. It was 91-87. Raptors would lead with 6 seconds left to play. Right? No. Let's go back to that. It was 90-87 Raptors. And then Donovan Mitchell was looking for a game-tying 3. He was looking for a foul for a 3-point shot, but the shot was no good. The foul wasn't called. Then the Raptors got the ball back. And then R.J. Barrett made one of the 2 free throws to make it 91-87. And then Sam Merrill, originally he makes a 3-point shot to make this a 1-point game, but play was reviewed. They said it has been determined that Sam Merrill's toe was on the line, so they changed to a 2 to make this a 2-point game. The foul should have been called against the Raptors on that play. It would have been before the shot. And then Scotty Barnes made both free throws to end the game. to make it 93 to 89 to make it their final score. So Cavaliers have missed several opportunities to take 3 games to 1 commanding lead. And now they have to play best of 3. Now you got your home court advantage back. You won 2 games, and the Raptors got 2 back. So this is tough for the Cavs. And now they gotta dig deep. If they go win the next couple of games, then this is gonna be disappointing for Cleveland. You let Toronto get back in this series, tied 2-2. Even with Brendan Ingram hasn't shot the ball great in this series. You can't give Raptors a bunch of credit the way they battled in this series. I think this series could go to the distance, unfortunately, for Cleveland. Remember, Toronto swept the Cavaliers in the regular season. Now Toronto has won 2 of the 4 games so far, the best of 7. So this is it. Best of 3. Could make it all happen here. All right, let's move on to the next one. We had the Trailblazers hosting the Spurs in Game 4 of the first round. Trailblazers were up by 15 at halftime. They were up by 19 in the game. But the Spurs, with an explosive second half, ended up 114-93 win belonged to the Spurs, and taking 3-1 commanding series lead. Oh, by the way, the Spurs outscored the Trailblazers in the second half 73 to 33. Spurs outscored the Blazers in the second half, 73 to 33. They outscored by 40 points in the second half. So here's my question. De'Aaron Fox led the way with 28 points. Victor Wembanyama had 27. So here's my question. After the Spurs taking 3-1 commanding series lead, do the Spurs deserve to close out on Tuesday night at home? Yes, they should. Yes, they do deserve to close it out at home. They do. After a Game 2 painful loss, those 2 games get off to a slow start, but they storm back and take Games 3 and 4 to make it 3-1 Spurs commanding lead. Now they had a chance to close out with a win here on Tuesday night back at home and face the winner of their choice between either the Wolves or the Nuggets. Keep that in mind. The Wolves have the series lead 3-1. We'll get to that a little bit later. But we talk about the San Antonio Spurs. When you don't play your best in the first half, you just find a way to make proper adjustments in the second half. That's how good is Mitch Johnson. Mitch Johnson's done a great job making proper second half adjustments to get yourself back in the game. That's what good coaching does. When you get off to a slow start, you storm back and you find a way to win. So that would be that. We offer the Trailblazers how they blow a 19-point lead in a game and how they blew a 15-point halftime lead. Well, the offense seemed to be disappeared. 3-point shooting was disappeared. The turnovers have been big. Blazers had riddled 18 turnovers, cost him 29 points. And the Blazers finished 14 assists, and most of those have been in the first half. The Spurs defense done a very good job adjusting the defensive rotation. So there's nothing better there is nothing better than who gets started, and that's what the Portland thing is all about. The Portland Trailblazers just trying to get back on track. Now they're trailing 3-1. How the Trailblazers can keep their season alive on Tuesday night to force Game 6 back in Portland on Thursday night. They need anyone to step up, either other than this. Clegan, Kamara, Grant, Murray, Sharp, Williams. Any one of the Blazers has to step up if they want to extend their series. You're facing elimination right now. So hopefully this would be the case at this point on. They should have done it at its own cost in this one. So Spurs take a 3-1 commanding series lead. They had a chance to close out on Tuesday night back at home. Speaking of which, the Boston Celtics played the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers come off a 108-100 win in Game 3 last Friday. They bounced back. And then last night, the 76ers had a slim lead. They were up by one for about only under a minute. For under 1 minute. And then since then, the Celtics took control the rest of the game. The largest lead was 32. They won by 32 points. Ended up a near wire-to-wire win because the Sixers did have a lead in this game. They were up by 1. Celtics with a 128-96 victory over the 76ers. And the Celtics taking a 3-1 commanding series lead. They had a chance to close out on Tuesday back at home in Boston on Tuesday night. Jason Tatum overcoming a slow start, finishing 30 points and 5 made 3 points, 11 assists. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown, he didn't have a great game shooting-wise, but he made enough plays. He had 20 points, but the only guy who had a good game, Peyton Pritchard with 32 points off the bench. And the Celtics made 24 three-pointers. That is a Boston Celtics playoff franchise record. They shot 45% from long range. So the Celtics taking 3-1. So let's just say this. Who do you think who had a much better performance? It's Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard actually led the way with 32 points. Coming off the bench. We talk about Peyton Pritchard, last year's reigning Sixth Man of the Year. But this year's Sixth Man of the Year is Keldon Johnson. Keep that in mind. Most improved player went to this year is Nickeil Alexander-Walker has won this year's most improved player. So congratulations on that. Also, I want to talk about Peyton Pritchard's performance. It was flawless. 6 for 12 from downtown, 32 points, 12 made field goals. Peyton Pritchard has been a heart and soul for this team from quite some time. But these guys have really stepped up when they needed it most. We talked about Derek White's numbers have been declined because his shooting numbers has really dipped since the month of January and beyond. But Derek White's defense was there. Remember, he had a chase down block in the third quarter after the Celtics turned it over. That was a huge play. That's championship pedigree right there. That's somehow you're going to believe that you're going to have. So this is what happened when the Boston Celtics could put themselves in a position to move on to the next round. And now, if they win Tuesday, then the Knicks and Hawks are eating up that series too because they have to wait for the winner. So if that's the case, then you should be happy. Meanwhile, for the 76ers, a really rough loss in Game 4. Maxey, he did have 22 points. Joel Embiid returned to the floor for the first time. He scored 26 points in his return. Did he shoot the ball well? No, he went 9 for 21. He did have 10 rebounds. But his plus minus is minus 25 for Joel Embiid. The guy who struggled, VJ Edgecombe, 2 for 9 from the field, 6 points. Kelly Oubre Jr., 0 for 6. Paul George, 6 for 13. Just a rough performance for the 76ers offense. Just not much to show for it, unfortunately. So that's what happened right now. Also, Lakers battled the Rockets. Lakers were looking for a sweep, looking to close out the Rockets, but last night, different story. The Houston Rockets dominated defensively and offensively finally broke out, and the Rockets end up winning 115-96 to keep their season alive. Lakers still have the series advantage. Lakers still have a first round series advantage, 3-1. So Game 5 will be back in Los Angeles on Wednesday night. Lakers will have another shot to close it out on Wednesday night, back at home. And Amen Thompson led the way with 23 points. And the Rockets shot 40% from downtown, 12 for 30, which is the highest three-point field goal percentage for the Rockets in this series. After the Rockets have shot below 35% from downtown in each of the first 3 games of this first round playoffs. They shot 48% from the field for Houston. And Houston only surrendered 13 turnovers. So much improved ball security for Houston. So this is an impressive win for the Rockets last night. No surprise. They don't want to send the season in. But the big story, Kevin Durant out in Game 4 and out in multiple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. He's out of the rest of the series. Kevin Durant is dealing with a sprained left ankle and bone bruised. So should they be concerned? Yeah, they should be concerned. Because of that, you're going to have those issues behind it. You're going to have those issues behind it because of that. There's no way you can save anyone's life for this and that and this and that. You can trust me on this one. Hold on. So the Rockets get a win The defense was great. They forced 23 Los Angeles Lakers turnovers. So it was a situation that you really had. They can put mistakes behind it. Meanwhile, for the Los Angeles Lakers, unfortunately, they were unable to close out Game 4. It's been a frustrating night last night for the Lakers. Lakers had 2 ejections last night. DeAndre Ayton was ejected. He had 19 points. He led the team with 19 points before he got kicked out of the game. DeAndre Ayton was ejected last night in the third quarter for flagrant penalty 2. It took place so DeAndre Ayton got a flagrant penalty 2 at 5:41 in the third quarter when Efren Sengun drew a foul, and then Ayton hit Sengun's face on the elbow. And then it got reviewed. It had been determined that DeAndre Ayton hit an excessive move on Sengun's face with the elbow. Therefore, it's a flagrant foul penalty 2, and Ayton was ejected. Lakers had 2 ejections last night, and Lakers had several technical fouls. Dude Thero got kicked out for the Lakers. And Aaron Holiday for the Rockets was ejected because of the chippiness. Things got chippy at the end of the game between the Lakers and Rockets. These two have history. Because last time Lakers and Rockets got chippy, remember back in 2018, Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo exchanged punches and multiple players were ejected. That was LeBron's Lakers home debut, by the way, back in fall of 2018. So that was that. Lakers committed 23 turnovers. It was uncharacteristic turnovers for the Los Angeles Lakers. And now this is an opportunity to get another chance to close out here. By the way, Ime Udoka is 6-2 in elimination games. So that's 8 games for Ime Udoka. He's coached 8 elimination games, and he's won 6 of them. So that's a minimum of 5 elimination games. So he's won 6 of 8 of those for Ime Udoka. And the Lakers shot, even though they shot 50% from the field, they shot 23% from long range, which is 5 for 22. Lakers committed 23 turnovers. In a 19-point loss. So the Lakers will try to figure it out on Tuesday. On Wednesday. My bad. Rockets and Lakers will play Game 5 on Wednesday night in Los Angeles, with Lakers with a 3-1 series lead. Lakers will get another shot to close out, or the Rockets try to force Game 6 back in Houston on May 1st, which is this Friday, by the way. All right, so coming up next, we'll talk NFL Draft, biggest winners and losers. We'll talk Major League Baseball news. And then we'll preview today's Game 4. Pistons at Mac. So there's a game in action in Orlando, Phoenix, and Denver. Oh, we'll do 2 Game 4s and 1 Game 5. There's Game 5 is in Denver. Game 4s are in Orlando and Phoenix. So we will step away in about 3 minutes. Welcome back. We wrap up this NFL draft in 2026. So 7 rounds have been completed. So we're gonna pick. All right. Let's take a look. Who are the top biggest winners of the 2026 NFL draft? In 2026, I could pick up to like 5-6 teams. So my biggest winners for these here, I'm gonna pick like top this one here. Number 5 is the New Orleans Saints. The Saints need a wide receiver, and they got Jordan Tyson from Arizona State University, the brother of Jalen Tyson of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Player, but great addition. I think Jordan will work with Tyler Shugg. Tyler Shugg is a Saints quarterback, and now Kellen Moore will enter his second season as Saints head coach. I mean, this is an impressive pick because I want to see how confident in Jordan Tyson is. He's a talented young man. So hopefully he'll make everything right. His expectations for Jordan Tyson is high for him. He had high hopes for him coming into his rookie season. Hopefully he has to stay healthy. That's going to be critical as career will develop in this one. Number 4, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams drafted Ty Simpson in the first round. I love Ty Simpson drafting him. I love Rams drafting Ty Simpson because Matthew Stafford is he's older now. So Matthew Stafford is older right now. So Sean McVay decided to draft Ty Simpson. That makes sense. To make sure if he can learn from Matthew Stafford in case Matthew Stafford decides to retire when season ends, when his career ends. I don't know. And this is what happened when you make sure you put yourself in a prime position in this one here. Number 3 is the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, they definitely draft Fernando Mendoza. They also draft Traden Stokes, Kieran Crawford, that was a huge one. So they need some pass rushers for the Raiders. And then Tyree Wilson heads to New Orleans. So that actually makes sense because the Raiders do need some young talent on defense. That's what they need. They need defensive talent other than Fernando Mendoza drafting number 1 pick of the offense. But the defense, the way I'm more impressed, the Raiders' defensive draft picks. They drafted defense. So I think Clint Kuya and other guys did a good job just drafting some defensive guys. That is not an easy thing to do. They want other guys to step up to help this team get some wins, and if that's going to be the case. Number 2 is the New York Giants. It's been the trenches game, the game of trenches. The Giants draft Arvel Reese. A pass rusher. And then they add Francis Mauigoa. It's Francis Mauigoa, offensive tackle. So that was a great move for them. We can see how to make sure we can put themselves in a prime position in this one here. And then New York Jets. Actually, number 6 is 6th biggest Raiders, the Saints. 5th biggest Raiders, the Rams. 4th is the Raiders. 3 is the Giants. The 2nd biggest winner is the New York Jets. The Jets drafted David Bailey from Texas Tech, and they add another first-round pick, Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon, and then the Jets add Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver. And then they add Inez Cooper, offensive guard. Great pick as well for the Jets. The Jets need offensive line help. That's the key. That's the key right now. And I think they'll be better to string it. And finally, number 1 is the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, they draft the offensive line, Spencer Fano, at the number 9 pick of this draft. And the Browns selected Taylor Green from Arkansas, another quarterback. Right now, we have Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, Shadir Sanders, and Taylor Green. This is good for the Browns. This is really good for the Browns. With Todd Monken as a Browns head coach, they need a quarterback depth. And 3 quarterbacks have been Three quarterbacks have been 25 years or younger. 3 quarterbacks in the roster are age of 25 or younger. Shadir Sanders is 24 years old. Taylor Green is 23 years old. Dylan Gabriel is 25 years old. He won't be 26 until late December. So there you go. You got guys to make sure you can put themselves in this one there. Who are the biggest losers of the NFL draft? Top 5. Number 5 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just did not add anything. They did not add much. They didn't add an offensive line. They did not add other receivers. They just don't have that right now. Jacksonville Jaguars made some inconsistent draft picks this year, but is not a problem. Number 4 is the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers just did not have enough firepower. They just don't have any guys to experiment with. That's not been the case. Number 3 is the Arizona Cardinals. They drafted Jeremiah Love instead of prioritizing the offensive line and playmakers. But Jeremiah Love is a great pick. But the rest of it, I don't blame Jeremiah Love. I think it's a great pick for the Cardinals, but they did not draft the offensive line or defensive playmakers. They just don't have that. Number 2 is the Tennessee Titans. They miss a lot of guys. They drafted some average players, and they just did not have all of that. And number 1 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Despite they drafted the quarterback of Drew Aller, they chose Drew Aller over Ty Simpson. I just don't like that pick. I don't like Drew Aller drafting him. The Steelers should have drafted Ty Simpson instead of Drew Aller. The Steelers, they got this all wrong. They should have drafted Ty Simpson. How they passed Ty Simpson in the NFL draft? It's tough. And an honorable mention, the biggest loser is Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia did not get drafted in all 7 rounds. That is disappointing. Diego Pavia is officially undrafted, despite he's the most talented quarterback in college football and getting undrafted. This is totally unfair. The good news is he is trying out with the Ravens. He's not signed, but he's trying out as a backup role for Lamar Jackson. Looks like he's going to get a Ravens job right now as it develops. So it's tough to analyze it right now. You could get through it in this one, if that's going to be the case. So if that's the case, there's not much of a problem at all in the NFL draft. So this could have been it. All right, come up next on JDB's Morning Cap, we'll talk Alex Cora and Carlos Mendoza. We'll preview 2 Game 4s and a Game 5 game. Their Game 5 actually starts today. Wolves and Nuggets Game 5 is in Denver tonight. Wolves had a chance to close it out, but we do have an update between Edwards and DiVincenzo. We'll get to that a little bit later. And then we'll preview Game 4s in Orlando and Phoenix. So we will step all the way in 3 minutes. All right, so let's talk the NBA. Let's go back to the NBA right now. Let's start with Game 5 first. I'm kidding. Game 4 first. We'll do 2 Game 4 first, and then we'll have Game 5. And then I'll talk Game 5. Game 5, some of the Game 5 starts today. So Game 4 of the Eastern Conference first round, it'll be the Pistons at the Magic. Magic has a series advantage, 2-1. So far, I'm impressed with Orlando Magic. Off the surprise first round start. So they're up 2-1 for the first time in Jamal Mosley's head coaching career. So now the Magic has a chance to take 3-1 series commanding lead. Last time they did it was Miami Heat in 2023. That was in the play-in era. By the way. And he gone to win the series 4-1 over the Milwaukee Bucks. And they end up firing Mike Budenholzer as the Bucks head coach. Jimmy Butler was playing with the Heat against Giannis of the Bucks. Right now, it's Magic at the Pistons. Corrections, Pistons at Magic, excuse me. Do you think Magic takes game 4 to make it 3-1, or will Pistons bounce back? We'll get to that in a second, but let's start with the Magic. How the Magic could defend their home court to take 3-1 commanding series lead. It's about decision making. It's about decision making. Because of that, then they could make it all happen. So if that's the case, then they can put mistakes behind it. Now, for Orlando, they can get this W here and making sure, as for Detroit, how they can survive in game 4 to avoid being down 3-1. They need Kate Cunningham to perform well. They need Jalen Duren to perform well. They need something to go their way to even up this series. So if that's the case, then they can make it happen. So, who should win game 4 tonight? Magic or Pistons? I like Detroit winning game 4 in Orlando. So if Pistons win, then there will be game 6 in Orlando. If the Pistons win tonight, game 6 will be in Orlando on Friday. There will be game 5 on Wednesday night back in Detroit, regardless of the outcome of tonight's game 4. So I picked Detroit winning tonight to make sure they can reclaim their home court advantage. Next one, it'll be Thunder at the Suns in Phoenix. Game 4 of the Western Conference first round. Thunder has a 3-0 commanding series lead. Thunder had a chance to sweep tonight in Phoenix. Or Phoenix tried to stave off the elimination and force a Game 5 back in Oklahoma City on Wednesday night. So, here's my question. How the Thunder can close out tonight in Game 4. It's about SGA's performance. We talk about SGA. He had an efficient 40-point performance and a field goal and the highest field goal percentage back in Game 3. We've just been talking about all that. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. The Celtics come off a 121 to 109 win in their last game. SGA went 15 for 18 from the field, 42 points, 8 assists. So, if that's the case, that would have been different. But Suns, Dillon Brooks is having a very good series. He's been the only bright spot for the Phoenix Suns. But can Dillon Brooks perform well when facing elimination game, try to force Game 5 with a win here tonight? How they can do that? They need Devin Booker to go off to a good start. They need to stop turning the basketball over. If they can somehow move the ball and play well, then they could force Game 5 on Wednesday night. So that's going to be the key for this one, and that's going to be for that one. So who like to win Game 4, Thunder or the Suns? I like Thunder winning Game 4. Thunder's going to win Game 4, and they will sweep the Suns. Meanwhile, Game 5 of the Western Conference first round, it will be the Timberwolves and the Nuggets series heads back to Denver. Tempers flurry in Game 4 in 112-96 Game 4 win belonged to the Timberwolves. Jaden McDaniels made a unwritten rule layup in the final seconds, and then Jokic did not appreciate McDaniels' unwritten rule layup, and then Tempers start the flare. Jokic and McDaniels got into it, and then Julius Randle was part of it. It was an all-out scrum. There was pushing, shoving, punches thrown, technical fouls. Nikola Jokic, and Julius Randle were both ejected from the game, and the fines were ensued. Jaden Daniels was fined, Nikola Jokic was fined, and Julius Randle being fined as well. So Tempers been flaring in this series. In this series, no surprise. Once the playoffs come, every playoff game is going to get chippy. Things are going to get really chippy out here. So that's the tough part right now. But the first one, I want to talk about the Timberwolves, how the Wolves can close out the game. So keep that in mind. Dante DiVincenzo left Saturday's game in the first quarter. He ruptured his Achilles, and he will be sit out for the rest of this playoffs. And he could be out to start the regular season next year. So it's going to take roughly 8 to 12 months to recover. So we're not going to see DiVincenzo likely next season. So we'll see how that goes. As for Anthony Edwards, he left the game with a sprained ankle in the third quarter. He did not return that game. And he's going to miss multiple weeks. He's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury. And yet, the Wolves have a 3-1 series advantage. But the guy who took advantage is Ayo Dosunmu. It's Ayo Dosunmu, I should say. He had a historical 43-point performance off the bench in Game 4 to earn the Wolves a 3-1 commanding series lead. And now, the Wolves' potential starting lineup, with both DiVincenzo and Edwards being out. Edwards is out for multiple weeks. DiVincenzo will sit out for the rest of the playoffs. It may look like this. So Denver's lineup is Gobert, McDaniels, what's the rest look like? So I'm going to look. Potential starting lineup for tonight's Game 5 for the Wolves. It'll be Julius Randle, Jaden Daniels, Rudy Gobert. There's your 3. And then we're probably going to put Mike Conley and Ayo Dosunmu to insert their starting lineup. We're going to keep Bones Highland and Naz Reid off the bench to make sure the depth stays right here. So right now, the bench is shorthanded. Potential bench, other than Highland and Reid, it's Joe Ingles, the veteran, Phillips, Berringer, Clark, Shannon Jr. I believe it's so it's Ingles, Phillips, Berringer, Clark, Shannon, Highland, and I think it's a 5-6 man bench. So the bench is shorthanded for the Wolves. Nuggets should have the advantage, even though they're down 3-1. Speaking of the Nuggets, should the Nuggets be concerned after trailing 3-1? Well, to me, they should be concerned, especially Nikola Jokic. Jokic is having a really rough series, and they're on the verge of losing this series in the first round. If they don't win tonight or otherwise, then their series could be over. But the shouting. Who do you think who's going to win Game 5? Wolves or the Nuggets? I'm going to say Denver Nuggets win tonight. If Denver wins tonight, Game 6 will be back in Minnesota on Thursday night. If the Wolves win tonight, then the series is over. Then they'll face either the Spurs or the Blazers. The Spurs have a 3-1 series commanding lead. So, semifinals could start this Saturday. If both Wolves and Spurs end up winning in 5 games. If they both end up winning in 5 games, then semifinals could start this Saturday. So we're gonna keep that in mind. If not, then they can start on Monday. Next Monday. Depends on the results. So I picked Denver to win to keep their season alive. All right, come next on JDB's Morning Cap. Our final segment will update Alex Cora and Carlos Mendoza, the Red Sox, and the Mets. Something going on in Boston. And for the Mets, what is going on with the New York Mets right now? They've been going through it. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Welcome back here on Major League Baseball. Welcome back here on JDB's Morning Cap. Major League Baseball news from April 25th. After the Red Sox with a powerful 17-1 win over the Orioles in Game 2 of the 3-game set, Alex Cora was fired as a manager, and some other Red Sox coaching staff has been fired. So we're going to name, so Alex Cora and 5 other coaches were fired. So here's the fire other than Alex Cora for the rest of the Red Sox coaches. Ramon Vasquez, hitting coach. Pete Fatse, third base coach. Kyle Hudson, assistant hitting coach. Dylan Lawson, and Joe Cronin from the hitting strategy coach. So they're firing Alex Cora and 5 other guys. So the Red Sox are off to a disappointing start for Boston. It's been a struggle. Offensively, they struggled. They struggled to start the season. They struggled to score runs. They struggled to hit home runs. They struggled with runners in scoring position. They strike out way too much. Slugging percentage, which is the worst in baseball. OPS, which is amongst the worst in baseball so far. And their defense has been bad. They have the second worst fielding percentage in baseball. Starters ERA, which is the fourth worst in baseball, with a 5.08 in ERA by starters. Nothing has gone right for the Boston Red Sox so far in the early part of the season, as we're approaching the month of May. Alex Cora is a great manager. He's done so. He became Red Sox manager in 2018. He won the World Series when the Red Sox were the best record in baseball. Red Sox won the World Series in 2018. He beat the Dodgers, Dave Roberts' Dodgers, in 5 games in the World Series. Then in 2019, they did have a winning record, but they missed the playoffs. Then Alex Cora sat out in 2020 because of a sign-stealing incident when he was part of the Astros organization in 2017. And then he came back in 2021, returned to the playoffs, lost the ALCS to the Astros in 6 games in 2021, missed the playoffs, last place in 2022, last place, missed the playoffs in 2023, missed the playoffs in 2024, made the playoffs last year in 2025, lost in 3 games in the ALWCS, stands for American League Wild Card Series. They lost in 3 games against the Yankees. After they took game 1, but they lost the last 2 games in the Wild Card Series against the New York Yankees. And then they got off to a bad start. And then after the 17-1 win against the Orioles on April 25th, they decided to fire Alex Cora. Do you think this is a good idea to fire Alex Cora? No. It's not a good idea. You have to wait until the middle of the season or after the All-Star break, maybe after the season, whether or not they keep Alex Cora. They decided to fire early. That's a bit of a surprise. You should just wait until that happens. You should wait. So the Red Sox decided to promote Chad Tracy as an interim head coach. He came from AAA. Chad Tracy is now an interim manager for the Boston Red Sox for most likely the rest of the season. The Red Sox, so that was the first win as Chad Tracy's interim manager, and the Red Sox ended up winning 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. The Red Sox offense started to swing the bats well over the last couple of games. They scored 22 runs in each of their last 2 games. End up taking 2 out of 3 from Baltimore. They try to finishing the month of March and April on a really good note. The series started today in Toronto against the defending American League champions, the Toronto Blue Jays. So congratulations to Chad Tracy as an interim manager for his first win as a Red Sox interim manager. 5-2 Red Sox was their final score yesterday over Baltimore to take the series 2 out of 3 from the Orioles in Baltimore. Meanwhile, let's move on. Let's stick with Major League Baseball. The New York Mets manager, Carlos Mendoza, is on a hot seat after they got swept by the Rockies, including they got swept in a doubleheader yesterday against the Colorado Rockies. First game was 3-1 Rockies in game 1 of the doubleheader. And second game yesterday was 3-0 Rockies. So the New York Mets, so far this year, it's been a struggle. The Mets are now 9-19 on the season. They're 10 games below 10 games behind 500. So when I look at all these shutout losses, Mets have 5 shutout losses this year. That's the most in the National League. The Mets have 5 shutout losses this season. That's the most in the National League. Most in the National League. They really struggle to score runs. The offense has scored 1 or less runs in 10 of their first 28 games. That's the most in all of baseball. They struggle to execute runs in score position. They struggle with batting average. They struggle to hit home runs. They struggle to get on base. They don't run the bases low. They don't play decent defense. The pitching has been lackluster at best. And I don't like the fact that the Mets are last place in the National League East. I just don't. The Nationals, the Marlins, and the Braves have played way better than you. Matter of fact, the Rockies have played way better than you. The White Sox have played way better than you. The A's have played way better than you. The Mets have lost against the worst teams in baseball in the past 3 seasons. The A's were the worst team in baseball in 2023. Rockies were the worst team in baseball last year. The Mets have not played the White Sox yet. White Sox were the worst team in baseball in 2024. You know what's ironic? A's were the worst team in baseball 2 years ago, and they swept the Mets earlier this year. And the Rockies were the worst team in baseball last year. They swept the Mets this past weekend. Unbelievable. Should Carlos Mendoza be fired? Yes, I think Carlos Mendoza should be fired. Not just Carlos Mendoza. Who's the Mets hitting coach? Troy Snitker, the son of Brian Snitker. He already joined the Mets coaching staff this past offseason. I believe Troy Snitker should be fired. Not after the season, maybe after the season. Stick with Troy Snitker for once in a while, and then remove Troy Snitker as a hitting coach for the New York Mets. Right now, they're hitting stinks right now, and I blame Troy Snitker quite a bit because the hitting has not been kind for the New York Mets. And Carlos Mendoza, I blame Carlos Mendoza as well. I blame Carlos Mendoza because this offense has really struggled. They struggle to score a lot of runs. They can't get, the Mets fans have been frustrated right now. It's been a frustrating homestand. They start off winning 2 out of 3 against Minnesota, and they end up getting swept by the Rockies. They're sitting 2-4 on this 9-game homestand. The Mets will continue their final stretch of homestand against the Washington Nationals tomorrow night. Nationals come off winning 2 out of 3 against the White Sox in the south side of Chicago. Nationals are playing better than the Mets. So this is a crucial series for the Mets to save their season. This team is sitting 9-19 on the season. The Mets are facing the worst pitching staff in baseball, the Washington Nationals. The Nationals pitching has not been good so far this year. Right now, the New York Mets offense stinks. They really stink offensively. They gotta clean up. They gotta clean. It's clean. It's about to be cleaning house in New York, in Flushing. Nobody wants you here. I love Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor to death, but nobody else wants you here. Nobody else wants you here in New York. Not a damn thing. All right, let's wrap this up on this JDB's Morning Cap. What's coming up tomorrow on JDB's Morning Cap? We'll recap Game 4 games between the Magic hosting the Pistons, Thunder at Suns, and we'll recap tonight's Game 5 between the Wolves and the Nuggets. Will Denver keep their season alive, or will Minnesota close out without Edwards and DiVincenzo? So we'll find this all out. And then I'll preview Game 5 games tomorrow. The Trailblazers at Spurs, 76ers at Celtics, and Hawks and the Knicks. Spurs up 3-1, Celtics up 3-1. Knicks and Hawks are tied at 2. So we're going to keep that in mind if that's going to be the case right now. All right, I'm out of here. This is JDB's Morning Cap. We'll catch you back tomorrow, same time, and enjoy your day.